There we go. So most of the time that I stand up here, I'm serious. I have a serious message. You know, it's generally a call to a higher discipleship. You know, the engaging in the struggle. You know, how to deal with the times ahead and so forth. Well, I'm going light tonight. As I ponder what to do, I want to show you some scriptures and show you just how amazingly threaded the scriptures are. You know, it's one of the reasons, I mean, it's this thing I'm showing you tonight is one of the reasons why I trust the scriptures so much. I mean, I'm a ponderer, you know, and I ask questions like, why are there two genealogies? Isn't that a contradiction? You know, I mean, and I'm saying, well, I trust the scriptures. I trust there's an answer. And then I study and I wait. And, you know, suddenly things like what I'm going to show you tonight show up. The scriptures are, I mean, I'm going to show you prophecy. I'm going to show you things from 2 Samuel and Isaiah and Jeremiah and Zechariah and Matthew and Luke. And it all fits. You know, and the thing is, what it shows is that we have an author of the scriptures that is working through time and people and periods and so forth. My teaser verse for tonight. Then after being warned by God in a dream, he, Joseph, which is Mary's husband, Jesus' adoptive father, left for the regions of Galilee and came and lived in a city called Nazareth. This was to fulfill what was spoken through the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene. I have taught, verse by verse, to every prophet in the Bible. And this isn't there. What do you do with that? Right? What do you do with that? Well, I ponder. And part of this flow tonight is going to show what Matthew, in fact, meant by this. So, you know, so there is no such prophecy, but there is a meaning here that is prophesied. And as I said, let me take you on this journey. And we're going to begin with the Davidic covenant. Okay? This is out of 2 Samuel chapter 7, 12 through 17. When your King David's days are complete and you lie down with your fathers, I will raise up your descendant after you, who will come forth from you, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be a father to him, and he will be a son to me. When he commits iniquity, I will correct him with the rod of men and the strokes of the sons of men, but my loving kindness shall not depart from him, as I took it away from Saul when I removed him from before you. Your house and your kingdom shall endure before me forever. Your throne shall be established forever. In accordance with all these words and all this vision, so Nathan spoke to David. Do you see any condition here? Like, David, if you do this, I will do this for you? No. Your throne will be before me forever. It's an unconditional promise. So David would have a descendant on the throne of Israel forever, even if there was a gap with no throne on which to sit, which like we are today. Okay? An unconditional promise. Well, let's move on to David's son Solomon, the Solomonic covenant. As for you, if you will walk before me as your father David walked, in integrity of heart and uprightness, doing according to all that I have commanded you, and will keep my statutes and my ordinances, then I will establish the throne of your kingdom over Israel forever, just as I promised to your father David, saying, you shall not lack a man on the throne of Israel. This is a conditional covenant. Okay? I mean, do you see that there could be an issue here, right? If Solomon was like his father David, he too would not lack a descendant on the throne. If Solomon was not like his father David, he would not always have a descendant on the throne. So, unconditional promise to David, conditional to Solomon. What happens if Solomon chokes? Solomon chokes. For when Solomon was old, his wife turned his heart away after other gods, and his heart was not wholly devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of his David had been. For Solomon went after the Ashtoreth, and the goddess of the Sidonians, and after Milcom, the detestable idol of the Ammonites. Solomon did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and did not follow the Lord fully, as his David father had done. Then Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the detestable idol of Moab, on the mountain which is east of Jerusalem, and for Moloch, the detestable idol of the sons of Ammon. Thus he did for all his foreign wives who burned incense and sacrificed to their gods. So the Solomonic covenant is done. Okay, now there's a problem here. Do you see the problem? Well, 3 prophets answer the call. And each one provides a little more detail than the previous ones. And in the end, we have a full picture of Messiah, and we also resolve the Nazarene issue. Okay. So what do we do with this? Right? David has to have someone on the throne, and Solomon can't have someone on the throne. So let's go to Isaiah. Isaiah 11 introduces the resolution. Then a shoot will spring from the stem of Jesse, and a branch from his roots will bear fruit. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and strength, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. And he will delight in the fear of the Lord, and he will not judge by what his eyes see, nor make a decision by what his ears hear, but with righteousness he will judge the poor, and decide with fairness for the afflicted of the earth. And he will strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he will slay the wicked. And righteousness will be the belt about his loins, and faithfulness the belt about his waist. This is Messiah, right? But he's a shoot that will spring from the stem of Jesse. Well, the stem of Jesse is David, Jesse's son. And the shoot from the stem is David's son, but this terminology of a branch from his roots, it's like a shoot emerging from the roots of a tree that has been chopped down. Have you ever chopped a tree down and next thing you know, it's coming up again because of the roots in the ground, right? Solomon's line will fail, and another will sprout up to take its place. So this is the first of our prophetic trail leading to the true line of Jesus. Okay? That's why I call this message the branch. All right. Well, let's go to Jeremiah. He actually records the end of Solomon's dynasty. This is in Jeremiah 22, and look at this. Is this man Coniah? Well, Coniah is a nickname for Jehoiakim. Okay, so his good buddies called him Coniah. But is this man Coniah a despised, shattered jar, or is he an undesirable vessel? Why have he and his descendants been hurled out and cast into a land that they have not known? Oh, land, hear the word of the Lord. Thus says the Lord, write this man down childless, a man who will not prosper in his days, for no man of his descendants will prosper sitting on the throne of David or ruling again in Judah. This is the end of Solomon's line. Right here, it's declared. By the way, Nebuchadnezzar, the reason that it's referenced that he's been taken out of the land is Nebuchadnezzar has come down and taken Jeconiah, or Jehoiakim, and carted him off to Babylon. And the Lord has told Jeremiah that none of his descendants will ever rule on the throne again, and so the conditional covenant of Solomon is played out. Well, there is a chapter division, and the bad thing about some of the chapter divisions in the Bible is they make it seem like a new thought is happening. But, Jeremiah didn't write in chapters. He said, Coniah's flow is done. And then he keeps writing. And this is what he writes. Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will raise up for David a righteous branch, and he will reign as king and act wisely and do righteous and justice in the land. So, Coniah, but the Lord will raise up for David a branch. All right? This is the same thing that Isaiah said. And notice that he will act wisely and do justice and righteousness in the land. That's just what we read in Isaiah 11. In his days, Judah will be saved, and Israel will dwell securely, and this is the name by which he will be called, the Lord our righteousness. Now, I added this in because this is an amazing prophecy. It's still to happen, and it's kind of like orthogonal or a little bit of a bunny trail, but I like this. Therefore, behold, days are coming, declares the Lord, when they will no longer say, as the Lord lives who brought the sons of Israel from the land of Egypt, but as the Lord lives who brought up and led back the descendants of the household of Israel from the northland and from all the countries where I had driven them, then they will live on their own soil. This saying of, as the Lord lives who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, that's Passover. And 2023, the Jews celebrated Passover. They've been celebrating Passover for 3,000 years, almost 3,500 years. It's a big deal. And yet this is saying that something is going to happen where it's Passover smashover. We have something new. The Lord brought us all back from all the nations where we were scattered. And it was of such moment that we are going to forget Passover. We're going to celebrate this new thing. And to give you the importance of this, where are the Jews today? They are scattered all over the world. And they're just now being gathered into the land. But there is going to be a final gathering that is going to be of such tremendous moment, and it's associated with this. All right. So, a branch. If not from Solomon, then from another of David's descendants, whom the Lord will raise up. That's what we're looking at. And what's in the name? Yahweh Tzidkenu, Yehozadak. Okay, so the Hebrew of the Lord our righteousness is Yahweh Tzidkenu. Yahweh meaning the Lord, and Tzidkenu meaning our righteousness, the Lord our righteousness. But we could make a name out of it that we, anglicize it, and it's Jehozadak. So remember this, because we're going to go to Zechariah. An angel of the Lord admonished Joshua. Now, Zechariah was written after the Jews returned from the Babylonian exile. And Joshua was a high priest at the time. And Zechariah is seeing a vision about Zechariah. So this isn't actually, this is being spoken of in a vision that Zechariah is having. The angel of the Lord admonished Joshua, saying, Thus says the Lord of hosts, if you will walk in my ways, and if you will perform my service, then you will also govern my house, and also have charge of my courts, and I will grant you free access among these who are standing here. Now listen, Joshua the high priest, you and your friends who are sitting in front of you, indeed, they are men who are a symbol. For behold, I'm going to bring in my servant the branch. For behold, the stone I have set before Joshua, one stone are 7 eyes. And behold, I will engrave an inscription on it, declares the Lord of hosts. And I will remove the iniquity of that land in one day. Now, there's something interesting here. Joshua is the high priest. But he says, if you walk in my ways, you will also govern my house. The house of Israel. Okay? But it gets a little bit more interesting here. So Joshua is Yeshua, it's Jesus, because Jesus is a Hellenized version of the name Joshua. We don't know this yet, but he's the son of Yehozadak, which is the Lord our righteousness. He will be symbolically a king on the throne of David, and the 7 eyes are like the 7 spirits from Isaiah 11, and he is able to remove the sin of the land in a single day. But Zechariah weighs in again. Take silver and gold, make an ornate crown and set it on the head of Joshua, the son of Jehozadak, the high priest, and say to him, Thus says the Lord of hosts, behold a man whose name is Branch. For he will branch out from where he is, and he will build the temple of the Lord. Yes, it is he who will build the temple of the Lord, and he who will bear the honor and sit and rule on his throne. Thus he will be a priest on his throne, and the council of peace will be between the two offices. So Joshua, the son of Jehozadak, the Lord our righteousness, who is going to be a high priest, and he's going to be a king. And the interesting here is that even a Jew reading this would say, "What? How can kings and priests are from two different tribes? The kings from Judah, the priests are from descendants of Aaron. But this one is somehow going to be both." So looking closely at this, Jesus is the Hellenized name for Joshua. And he is one who has brought about our righteousness, and he is identified with the branch so that he will be the replacement line of David, and he's a king and he's a priest. So let's go to the genealogies. The genealogy in Matthew. The record of the genealogy of Jesus the Messiah, the son of David, the son of Abraham. We got a bunch of people in here. So Jesse was the father of David the king, and David was the father of Solomon by Bathsheba, who had been the wife of Uriah. A couple more names in there. Jacob was the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary, by whom Jesus was born, who was called the Messiah. Joseph is according to Matthew here, Joseph was the husband of Mary, but not the father of Jesus. So why is this genealogy here? Because Joseph is in the line of Solomon, and he is carrying the legal right to the throne. So he is not Jesus' father in the flesh, but Jesus is his son, and therefore through Joseph, Jesus is the rightful king, but not by blood. All right? You see how the scriptures are working out here? Right? So he's the husband of Mary, not the father of Jesus. All right, I said already this. All right, let's go to Luke. When he began his ministry, Jesus himself was about 30 years of age, being as was supposed the son of Joseph, but actually the son of Eli. And actually not even this. And then we go on, we got more names. The interesting thing is Matthew goes from Abraham to Joseph. Luke does it in reverse order, and he goes from Joseph, supposedly, all the way back to Adam. So we got a bunch of names here, and we come here. The son of Meleli, the son of Menah, the son of Mattatha, the son of Nathan, the son of David, the son of Jesse. And here's our branch. Another son of David, whose genealogy traces to whom? Well, Eli is appropriately seen as the father of Mary. So we got a genealogy that confers the legal right of the throne to Jesus, and we have a genealogy of blood which meets all the conditions of the scriptures. It handles the situation between an unconditional promise to David and a conditional promise to Solomon, which he blew, and yet they all just come together. It's brilliant. So Jesus was of Mary's bloodline, but not of Joseph, her husband. And in their own ways, both Matthew and Luke make this clear. And Mary's genealogy traces back to Nathan, the son of David, and not Solomon. So Jesus is a branch line of David. So let's look at Jesus the Nazarene. The Hebrew word for branch and shoot is netzer. And if you're over in Israel, Nazareth is Netzeret. So Jesus of Nazareth is, when Matthew said that Jesus would fulfill the prophecy by being called Nazarene, he meant the prophecies of the branch. And it's like Matthew says, hey, I'm going to give you a little puzzle. There's prophecies that Jesus would be a Nazarene. What does that mean? And you say, I don't know. It's nothing there directly. Oh, but the branch is there. And if you've seen anything tonight, the branch is clearly there. The branch was presented very, very early as a way of solving the issue between an unconditional and a conditional promise. So Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus the netzer, the branch, the shoot. And it just all comes together. Like I said, I just want to be late tonight. So Merry Christmas. Okay? All right.